Hello, y'all. I am hoping that you're having a great day today. So, this video is going to be about what's been said about you the whole time, right? So, there's a playlist that I got going, the Narcissists and Funerals, right? So, I'm not sure how I'm going to upload this video. I think I'm going to put it under that. I'm not sure. I might upload it twice and name it something different. So, how can I get into this? Okay. I just want to word this the right way. Okay. First, I'm going to start out with the comment that was said. And because I'm empathic, I have the ability to self reflect, right? Or look back in hindsight and say, what could I have done different? As time goes on and you go through the grieving process, other things happen. You may not be able to see minors in the family. You may be denied of seeing elderly relatives. There's a host of things that could happen, all very toxic. However, if you get a different mindset, it could be for your benefit. And I'm going to explain why. So, how would you feel if someone passed away and you found out that someone told you, someone trustworthy, like this ain't just somebody that was toxic. This is somebody that loved the person that passed away dearly, along with myself. So, what happens is we begin to communicate. This person that was very close to the person that passed away has no animosity towards me. Basically, that individual was also taken advantage of in some way. There's forgiveness there, but did the person that passed away always treat that person right? Probably not, right? Did I always treat the person that passed away always right? Probably not. See, I'm not coming in this video with a lie. Like I'm perfect. I never said nothing bad. I never responded to anything negative. And that was my flaw, responding to it in a way that could be taking it too far. For example, okay, I'm going to give you an example. I did learn though. I started responding better. See, you don't have to take a narcissist abuse, right? If someone says to you, well, that's why you lost some of your kids. Remember, narcissistic people are hypocrites. And you respond and you say, calmly, not yelling, not screaming, no name calling. And you respond back and say, but that's why you lost all of your children. And it's true. You have a right to respond to that. Now, the wrong response would be if they say, well, that's why you lost some of your children. And then you respond and say, and I'm just going to give an example, right? Excuse the language, but I'm just going to give you an example. Well, fuck you, bitch, motherfucker. That's why you lost all of your motherfucking kids. Fucking bitch. Fuck you, bitch. I'm going to beat your ass, bitch. That's insane. See, that's not the right response. So I learned to not go down that road. But I did learn to take my power back. Because, see, a lot of people suffer from illnesses and things like that because they don't respond. You got to remember, if someone's constantly verbally attacking you and they're saying cruel things to you, so if someone says to you, Just out of the blue, y'all not even arguing. See, this is the thing with these narcissistic attacks. You just on the phone, you're not arguing, and they just start attacking you for no reason, insulting you and things like that. And they say, well, that's why you lost some of your kids. And then in actuality, remember, the narcissistic person is a big hypocrite. But at the time they say this to you, they've actually lost all of their children. And I don't mean to death. These situations were not to death. You know, like losing the kids temporarily because they have to go live with someone else or something like that. And you could have been in a situation where when you lost some of the kids or the kids stayed with the other parent, you actually paid child support. This person that lost all of their kids ain't paid a dime of child support. And I'm talking about real child support. Consistently paying to take care of your kids or paying the other parent to take care of y'all children consistently. You decide, okay, I'm going to pay $200 a month to take care of my child or children, whatever the amount is, as long as it's consistent, you know, and as long as it's something that you and the other parent agree upon. So going back into this subject, those are the type of situations I was in. Okay. Looking back in hindsight, what I could have done, what I was advised to do by a handful of people, I was advised to completely remove myself from this individual. Remove this individual from your home. And I did that. I removed this individual from my home many, many, many years ago. This individual moved on with another relative and was out of my home. However, I continued to have contact with this person. And if I wouldn't have been doing that, then this person would not have been able to maybe talk about me bad often, because this is the comment that was made through a communication. This individual that passed away talked about you bad often. Keyword, often. Pay attention to that word, often. Now, if this person could come back to life right now, I mean literally, and could sit before me, if that was possible, you know what I would say? This is what I would say. Because remember, you have a right to speak your piece. When you speak your piece, you're not manipulating because you're speaking truth. It just has to be truth. Just make sure when you speak your piece, it's the truth. So if this individual could come back and sit right before me, and I know this information, and they admit it, yes, I did, I talk bad often, you know what I would say? I would tell the truth. I would say, you know what? That's fine. You have a right to your perspective. But I promise you this. You wouldn't have made it to my funeral like I made it to yours. See, the end matters too. People focus so much on the beginning and the middle of it. That ending, when it's time for your memorial or funeral, how are you treated then? This individual that had something to say bad often, and it's an immediate relative, y'all, would not have showed up to give me a card. I promise to God that. But see, these type of people, they always got something to say about people. They got bad things to say about people that are much more decent than they are often. That's what the exact wording was. Talked about you bad often. Now, One of the reasons this individual wouldn't have been able to make it to my funeral is because of a corrupt lifestyle. The person was missing often, right? 6 months, a year, people didn't hear from the person. Substance abuse, wandering off, just not being the same. People can have nervous breakdowns, people go through a lot of things in life, and I'm not judging that. However, what I would like you to get from this video is this. This is where that no contact is best. See, a lot of that talking bad often, I was constantly letting that narcissistic person that was acting narcissistic at the time provoke me. And I'm so proud of myself because the other immediate relative of this immediate relative of mine that passed away was threatening and doing things like that. I covered that in other videos, so you have to listen to those videos. I'm not going to go too much into that. But what I did have now is self-control, because see, now I know what a narcissist is. Once you know what a narcissist is, you should be able to have a little bit more self-control or a lot of self-control. But I feel a sense of freedom, and I'm going to tell you why. This is one thing that most narcissists will not go to their grave sites believing. The lies. The lies that narcissists believe about themselves. And one of their beliefs is that they're better than you. Their second belief is that what's actually really real that's happening to them ain't so real. Their third belief is what happened to you ain't happening to them. Like the example I gave a pure example of a narcissistic person telling you you lost some of your kids, or you lost 3 or 4 of your kids, or whatever, however way they word it. However, at the time they say it, none of their children live with them. None of their children are they taken care of. You see the hypocrisy in that? And this is actually a real life situation, y'all. So one of the things I learned several years ago for sure, because the Lord had to put me back in order, right? And one of the things I learned was this. Narcissistic people, they could always kind of control me by knowing to say or do that one thing and getting me to do reactive abuse. And I learned that they liked that, and I controlled that. And when I started controlling that, I ran off a lot of narcissists. And these would be people that I'm closest to, a so-called soulmate, a so-called immediate relative. But I would say starting back in 2018, I became very, very strong. Very, very strong. I was able to, in these situations that I was in, stop being a supply source. No, I can't give you any money. Because see, you go through these patterns, you start noticing your own patterns. Okay, I'm giving them the money. The next week, they're cussing you out, calling you out of your name. And these could be nieces, nephews, your children, grandchildren, etc. Adopted family members, cousins. It could just be happening like this, right? So, for one, I had healed a lot over a lot of situations. And When the attacks were coming, I also knew that the person must be in a lot of pain to be saying these things to me, right? However, at first, when they pass away, you might feel kind of bad, but you got to remember the Lord is going to make you aware of every single thing before you pass, right? And nobody's going to leave here without understanding the truth about themselves. And that's one thing that every narcissist will have to realize at some point, the truth about themselves. If that narcissist is not taking care of any of their children, or if they don't have any of their children in their care, and they're running around telling other people, you don't have some of your kids, you ain't got your cats or dogs in the house, all your cats or dogs died, and they're saying all this wicked stuff to people, somebody is going to one day say to them, well, by the way, you don't have any of yours, and say it just like that. See, you're not saying it with a vengeance. You're just pointing it out. You're just making them aware that this is your situation, and actually your situation is even worse than mine or worse than yours. I hope this makes sense. So then, as you go through this grieving process, you find out that the narcissist actually, or the narcissistic person, I say narcissistic to say this, they couldn't actually be diagnosed as a narcissist. Someone that's narcissistic, they have very little empathy, but they do have some, if that makes sense. So that is why I'm using the word narcissistic in this case. And due to the fact that the person is deceased, and I love this person very, very much. So what could I have done different? What I could have done different is to not have any contact. See, what that does is this. It does this, okay? When you go into full no contact with someone that's abusive, and you're being abusive too, both of y'all being abusive, right? Because reactive abuse is still a form of abuse. But I wasn't doing reactive abuse to calmly say, you know, well, by the way, you don't have any of your children. See, that's a reality. Because, see, you're not put on this earth to be attacked. And you know what? A lot of people, they develop illnesses, stress-related illnesses. And you know what a lot of it comes from? I'm going to tell you the truth of why a lot of people are so sick. It was something they wanted to say to somebody, especially narcissists. And they never got a chance to really tell that narcissist how they feel. And I'm not talking about doing it in a belligerent way. If you got a narcissist, say it's a husband and wife, and the husband is complaining that the wife is not cleaning the house properly. And he complains for years and years and years. And finally, one day, the wife says, well, you know what, husband? You don't smell very well. And he's like, what? What? I don't what? Yes, honey, you actually have bad hygiene. And then he says, oh, bitch, no, you didn't. Yes, honey, you had bad hygiene. Well, how long I been having that? This is what the husband says. I'm just making up this acting skit, right? And she says, well, you've had bad hygiene the entire marriage. People actually ask me, why did I want to marry you? Because you had an odor when I first married you. Now he flips out. Bitch, if you don't get out of my house. Because, see, all this time he's been complaining that she's a bad housekeeper. But she had empathy for him, so she never did want to say that you have bad hygiene. Now, say in this case, this guy had some kind of chemical imbalance. It's not that he had bad hygiene because he wasn't taking care of himself. He had bad hygiene because of the chemical imbalance, but still, people don't know that when they smell you, right? They're not like, hey, do you have a chemical imbalance? Do you have some damaged sweat pores? People don't know all of this. So this is just an example. And notice how in this example I use the wife, she never yells, she never screams, she doesn't cuss her husband out. She just finally makes this man aware that yes, you do have a hygiene issue, because see, he just thought she was the nasty one. Okay, well, she don't keep the house as clean as I would like it, or as not as orderly as he would like it. And he just kept attacking her. It went on 10 years, 15 years at a minimum. And then she finally just tells him. So in that case, he won't go to his gravesite not knowing that he has hygiene issues. That's the same way I put it down, y'all. Before this person passed away, it started several years ago. I just couldn't deal with it no more. I got tired of the abuse. And I believe in my heart that this particular person, I believe in their soul, knew that this life on this earth wasn't going to be for them. And see, you ever heard of that? I'm going to just go out with a bang. However, I am finding peace with this individual not leaving here with me speaking my truth. See, we were in truth. Even the person that's attacking me or saying the negative things, when I responded without profanity, without threats, without violence, when I spoke my truth and I just spoke the truth, it was true. You do not have any of your children right now. Just truth. In this situation, this individual was talking about some kids and all of that. That stuff was so old, y'all. I'm talking about 100 years ago. Not literally, y'all. Not 100 years ago, but that's how it felt to me. Like, this is just so old news. This is such old news. I couldn't even believe that I was being attacked in that way. But see, this old news was something in the past that had hurt me and affected me. So the narcissistic person, it goes back to they want to go out with a bang. Because people kind of know that they're not going to be here too much longer. See, it's not just that. It's wanting to be here too. See, a lot of people, they just gave up on life and they really don't have a desire to be here. Just like I asked a very close person to me that's like almost 80 years old, basically, right? And I asked him, I said, what's the key to your long life? And this was a man that borderline kind of helped raise me. This was almost like a family member / mentor, been knowing me since I was a very, very young girl. So during this time of the funeral, I asked him this question: what's the key to a long life? And you know what he said? He said, wanting to live. And that's something that a lot of narcissistic people and a lot of narcissists don't want to do. They don't want to live. And a lot of them say this type of stuff to people and get themselves killed, y'all. It's not right, but a lot of times that's their form of suicide. Well, I'm going to just say something so hateful to somebody and they shoot me. But in today's time, you don't really have to say much of nothing to get shot. I was just watching a case earlier where a gentleman was in a smoke shop and he held the door for the gentleman, the other gentleman that was in the smoke shop, and that gentleman didn't say thank you. So he was like, man, say thank you, man. Can't you say thank you? And they got into a physical dispute, and the man that did not say thank you stabbed him and rode away on a bike. And the man that was complaining about the thank you, obviously he was raised with some manners, died right there on the spot. He said he stabbed me and he dropped dead right there. So the moral of that story is you don't have to do much of anything for someone to stab or shoot you or do something really bad to you. And also, when you're saying things to people, you got to consider your surroundings. So I'm just going to advise you. This is what I wish I could have done, right? I wish that when these disputes were happening, like I said, I did wake up eventually. Because at the end of the day, I was the supply source. Even if it was just that I sent this individual money sometimes, I called them. I spoke to their kids on the phone when I could, when the kids were staying with them. I remember sending gift cards when the person had a baby shower. I remember mailing some household things like magazine racks. And, I remember mailing some nice gifts. All items were lost in a storage that they had. However, I did do some good deeds. I did a lot more good deeds than this person did for me. And I promise you, they wouldn't have been at my funeral. Because for one, my funeral not going to be 6 months later or a year later. If I'm going to have a funeral, it's going to be pretty soon, at least within a month, right? And if somebody's lost in the shuffle 6 months, a year, by the time you catch up with them, you just letting them know, hey, I've been dead for 6 months. Your relative been gone for 6 months now. That person would have cried. At a minimum, I probably would have got a couple of tears shed out of the person because I was dead. I'm not saying that the relative is like cold-hearted like that, but you got to be more mindful of what they're saying. And I'm going to be honest with you. The person that the deceased person said this to was actually someone that when we were on the phone, we didn't really argue in front of this particular person. I wouldn't have thought that the deceased person said that thing to this person. But the person that's telling me what was said, like I said, that person was taken advantage of too. Maybe not on purpose, but narcissistic people don't always do it on purpose. They just naturally do it because it's in their nature, it's in their makeup to do that. So, yeah, I mean, that individual talked about me bad often. But at the end of the day, when you put all of that to the side, I said my piece. That narcissistic person did not go to a grave with me telling them no lie because it was true. They didn't have any of their kids at that time. So who are they to tell me what I have or had lost, even if it really was a loss? Is it really a loss for real when you're financially taking care of your kids like you should? For some of you, emotionally, whatever way you're taking care of your kids, that's just your way. So the nerves of the narcissistic person or the audacity of the narcissistic person to talk about something that you went through and they going through the same thing, but it's even worse. Okay? You may have lost some of your kids, but you wasn't on no drugs. But this narcissistic person then lost all of their kids and could be potentially on drugs. Just examples like that. Or they could be incarcerated and they got such a long sentence that they won't even be able to raise the kids. By the time they get out of prison, all their kids are grown. But they got the nerves to say that you missed 3 years of your kid's life because you was incarcerated 3 years. Well, you still got out in time to finish raising yours. But this other narcissistic person didn't. I'm just giving you some examples because this type of stuff has happened to a lot of people. It really has. Because of the nature of the narcissistic person, or look at it from this point, this individual maybe could have been a narcissist. I'm just going to give it the benefit of the doubt and say narcissistic. I'm just going to show that much love. So to prevent these type of comments being made about you and you finding it out many, many years later that they talked about you bad often, listen to this video. And these are the steps that I would like to see you take. Stop reacting to them. When I say reacting, you have a right to say your piece. If someone says to you, you're not a liar, right? If someone says to you, this is what you lost, and you say, well, you lost all of it, and you say it with no vengeance, no anger. You say it with no emotion in it. You're just stating a fact, just like lawyers do. They just clearly state the fact. Your Honor, this person, the defendant, was driving a red car when they were speeding through the light. Your Honor, this defendant was not at that location. That's a lie. So their alibi isn't correct because they're saying that they were at that location, but they weren't. That's not abuse if you're saying it just like that. And that's the process that I went through. And I said my piece. They said theirs. And it's done. So guess what? The beauty of it is neither one of us would have went to a grave with lies. We spoke our truth. And that's a beautiful thing. That's a beautiful thing. But see, my problem was that's all I should have done. I should have spoke that truth long, long time ago. I could have not even been on that phone for any of that stuff to be spoken. Because before it got to that point and our truths were spoken. I'm speaking my truth and the narcissistic person is speaking their truth. I should have been in a no contact anyway. That way, when they say they talked about you bad often, you want it to be things that happened in the past before they moved away, not current things. So my mistake was creating more of a history of things that went on after they left. See, they're not in your house no more, right? And I got to learn this again because, as relatives move out, when they move out, it should be no more fighting. They're out the house, right? So you want to watch all this toxic stuff that's being said once they're out. They're free from you and you're free from them now because they're moved out. So work on that because this individual that had all of this talked about me bad often, that individual had moved out of my house many, many years ago. So why was I on the phone debating with them? We weren't ever going to be back in the same living quarters ever. Ever, ever, ever. That wasn't going to happen because that narcissistic person didn't want to come back. And then by the time I asked the narcissistic person to move back to the state I'm in because they were going through horrific times and I almost felt like death could come to the individual, my relative, they weren't going to come back anyway. Because at the end of the day, you ain't got what narcissists want. You ain't got they drugs. You ain't got no money for them no more. You're not letting them humiliate you. Like with those type of statements I used as an example earlier in the video. And if they do try to humiliate you, you're speaking your truth. And that's what narcissistic people and narcissists hate. They hate the truth. And the Lord is not going to let none of them leave this earth without the truth. They will know the truth. That's only fair to the narcissist. That way, they have some chance of some salvation. Everyone is going to get that, even the narcissist. Now, what they do with that salvation, that's up to that narcissist. Many of them don't even recognize that as salvation. They just don't get none of that, y'all. And if they do know about it, they don't care about it. However, to avoid someone having that power to talk about you bad often, don't be available so often. See, you're available to the wrong people too often, even if it's just over the phone. And that's the mistake. And it was meant for you to know about it even in death. And consider this. Okay, this individual talked about you bad often. They have offspring. They have children that you want to be involved in. The children going to be doing it too. At least one of them going to do it. It's just in the nature. It's like a curse and a blessing wrapped in one. So, in my case, I've gone to this funeral. I'm healing and I'm grieving, but no more of it. No more of these demons. I'm done with these demons, okay? Because all they do, all these demonic, narcissistic energies, all they do is this. Listen, I'm 38 minutes in. I've been on this bike the entire time. This is what they do, y'all. They talk about you bad often. Never forget that, okay? Never, never forget it. They talk about you bad often. And that's not what you deserve. That's not what you need. That's not going to make you no better person. It's backbiting. It's backstabbing. It's betrayal. This is somebody you never was going to be able to get close to anyway. You helping people and trying to get closer to people that no matter what you do, they're going to have a bad perspective of you anyway. Because at the end of the day, narcissistic people, they don't appreciate what you do. Not like we do. They don't for real appreciate it. They don't. So I hope this helps y'all. And remember, they talk about you bad often. Even if you find out about it when they're in a grave site, you're going to find out about it sometimes. That's just how karma works. You know, you got good karma, you got bad karma. That's just the way it's supposed to work. But where does it get you, right? Where does it get me to talk about people bad often? And in my case, I limited the supply. So I did, I wasn't a major supply source for this particular narcissistic person. Even at the very end, this particular relative wasn't speaking to a lot of people, and it was because of substance use disorder. They call that SUD. So they weren't speaking to a lot of people. And that was a blessing in disguise for a lot of people, including me, because we weren't a supply source. So, in a way, it was good for me because I had a little bit put to the side so I could show my respects and go to their funeral, right? But if I would have been a major supply source, especially financially, I wouldn't have had the money to take myself and my family members to their funeral. And I just wanted to be there to show my respect. And I was. I was there to show my respect. In my soul, this is someone that I will always love no matter what. And no matter what, even though the person did talk about me bad often, I'm still not going to stop loving them. So I'm somebody that's left on this earth, on this exercise bike right now, that still got love in my soul for this human being. You can't hold grudges. See, that's why you got to validate yourself and self reflect on how that could have been done better. So at the end of the day, all of that talking about me bad often, some of that could have been limited because I shouldn't have been on that phone. And going forward, don't argue with people a lot and go back and forth with people a lot that when they moved out of your house, you was on bad terms with them. Don't put yourself through that. They're out of the house. So just say nice things, encouraging things, and let this be a lesson learned, okay? I love y'all so much. Please like, share, and subscribe. Oh, yeah, please leave a comment. And thank you. Bye.